Hello, and welcome to another monthly reading from Karen's Colours. I'm Dr. Karen, an Australian sociologist with a primary interest in the language of colour as it pertains to the way in which people view each other and also in the way in which we act in our everyday lives. This month, I've decided to choose a new oracle that I received just recently. It's by Sharina Starr, and it's called the Fortune Oracle. There aren't very many cards in this, but I have noticed that the cards that do exist here are really quite interesting. So hopefully they'll help us along our journey in May, because we've had a couple of really torrid months. Everyone in the world has been subjected to quite a high level of anxiety. And I hope that this month's readings for May 2026 will help to curb some of that anxiety and bring us all back down to earth and to a situation where we can actually be kind to one another. So let's get started, shall we? To begin with, let's select an oracle card to help us along and give us some extra definition to the colour reading. As you can see, my shuffling has not improved at all. Anyway. Okay, we'll pop the card over here. And now let's choose some colours for people born in the month of October to see how their May 2026 will determine itself. We need a combination that shows what your strengths are for this month. And we have here purple on orange. The obstacle that you're likely to face is pink on white. And the additional energy that will support you throughout this, cyan on yellow. Very well then. Purple on orange. These colours represent the strengths that you carry with you throughout the month of May. Orange internally is courage, it's confidence, it's the ability to accept that dramas occur and that you can overcome whatever crisis there is. You face the world with a degree of ability to survive regardless of what is thrown at you. And what is being thrown at you is massive change. Purple is always about destruction and creativity. And as a strength, the two colours together are both about surviving, changing, healing, making things better. You've had some challenges in the past, probably most recent past, since this is the strength that you're carrying with you into May. And because of those challenges, you've had to really face up to how are you going to survive. In the real world, those challenges have actually created some pretty major changes. Now, those changes could have been catastrophic. They could also have been fairly minor. But whatever they are, they've completely upturned your life. They've made things that were unnecessary from your past disappear. Maybe you've thrown things out. And at the same time, you've created something new. And that has made you feel more healed, more wholesome, more as though you are the one that is in charge of your own life. Because ultimately, purple is also about power. So here we have the power to survive all issues. That is your strength. The issue that you are facing, the obstacle that you need to deal with, is pink on white. Now, when you are white internally is a sense of emptiness. As a problem, this is a feeling as though there is nothing left for you in the future. It's not quite hopelessness, because that would be black, but white is fairly similar in that it contains all colors. We just can't see any of them. And that white, in fact, is asking you to deal with a flash of some sort of enlightenment, some sort of reality check that has suddenly hit you and made you completely reconsider what is going on in your life. Remember, this is the obstacle. In the real world, it's caused you to feel fairly vulnerable. How are you going to cope with whatever it was that occurred here? Now, in the tarot, pink and white together are called justice. So it's as though something is coming to fruition that has been a long time in the making, and now you are facing it. But this is upside down. Justice is usually white over pink. You have pink over white. So there is a feeling here of injustice. It's as though something has gone wrong with your life and you don't know what to do with it. You are still trying to process all that information and it's overwhelming. And at the same time, the pink in the real world makes you feel vulnerable. How are you going to survive this threat to your equanimity? And the additional energy we have here is cyan on yellow. Cyan and yellow are a rather pleasant combination. Yellow internally is all about cheerfulness and optimism and the ability to think of things that you have remembered from the past. So it's about memory and it's about learning. What do you know that will assist you to deal with the issues that you're dealing with back here, which of course are your strengths, but also this feeling of things are somewhat unfair. In the real world, cyan means that you are at peace. You have come to terms with whatever it is that is affecting you here, because you can remember what this disruption, this unfairness, this lack of justice actually means. Now, let's have a look at the colors that are missing to see what they can offer us in terms of additional information. There's no black, but you do have white. You don't have red, but you do have yellow. There's no green or blue or brown, but you do have orange. There's no gray. You have purple, you have pink, and you have cyan. These colors here, the missing ones, are all about the skills that you are currently not using throughout the month of May, whereas the ones over here that are represented by these colored circles are the colors and the skills that are available to you. Now, the idea here, of course, is to look at these ones from the missing pile and choose the one color that is most appealing and then the one color that is least appealing, and add them somehow into your repertoire, into whatever it is that you do throughout the month of May. When you do so, you are actually increasing the number of skills that you have available to you, and also, because you're taking the best and the worst of it, you're increasing the potential for being able to attach any of the other missing skills into your repertoire. Now, I'm not going to go into these in any detail because I've done so in the past, and I have a series of videos that looks at each of these colors as a personality type and describes exactly how the behaviors occur as a result of these particular colors, if you're interested in doing so. What I'm interested in here today is I want to look at the interactions between these three sets of colors: the orange and purple, the pink and white, and the cyan and yellow. Now, we'll leave the cyan and yellow aside for a moment because I particularly want to look at, firstly, the interaction between your strengths and the obstacles that you're likely to face in the month of May. And we do that by swapping over these. So we have here, instead of purple, the ability to destroy what is no longer necessary and create something new that is more healing, more satisfying, more powerful for you. Instead of that being activated by a sense of confidence, it is now being activated by a sense of emptiness. Now, this combination is also one that appears in the tarot, and that combination is the devil. The devil is all about addictions. It's about permanence. It's about things that are being repeated over and over and over. It's a generational card. This is something that has come from the past. It has come from sometime in the distant past where you have not necessarily had any information about. You've been empty in terms of what is available to you as a driver. You don't know where it's coming from. In the real world, however, it has managed to disrupt your life. So in effect, this combination here is one that is causing you a fair degree of distress. On the other hand, we have here also the pink in the real world, only this time we're attaching it to the confidence of the orange in the internal world. And this is being able to survive a catastrophe, being able to survive an illness, being able to survive regardless of how limited you feel, how lacking of energy you have. This is a far more positive way of doing things. But remember, what we're doing here is we're crossing a strength with the obstacle that you need to face. So there is a way of dealing with it by simply looking backwards to see if you can find where you are repeating a particular pattern, and the ability to courageously stand up and overcome the feeling of a lack of energy. We can also add to this the additional information, the additional energy that is available to you. And again, we do this by crossing over the drivers. Now we have a slightly different appearance. Here we have purple as the activity, is changing things for the better. And because this is also an energy that is available to you, neither positive nor negative, although from the look of it, it appears more positive, we have yellow in the internal world. You are thinking about remembering, being able to access information that you have learned, and in the real world, use that in order to create the change that you want. This is a rather positive outlook. It also links to one of the tarot cards, and in this case, it's the moon. So there's a degree of uncertainty here. Now, why would that be? It's because purple and yellow are opposites on the color wheel. Being opposites, they fling you from reality, which in this case happens to be in the internal world, and fantasy, which happens to be in the external world. So we have here a situation in which what would normally be a very positive way of doing things, twisted upside down. You're finding yourself fantasizing in the real world all of the worst things, worst case scenarios that could beset you, whereas in the real world, whereas in your internal world, you know that there is information available to you, probably information you already have, that would clarify those fantasies, those destructive fantasies, and allow you to move forward. Ultimately, though, when we mix those two colors together, because they are opposites on the color wheel, we end up with brown. Brown is about setting a goal, creating some sort of outcome for yourself and working towards attaining that outcome. On the other hand, we could also have the cyan from the real world mixed with the orange from the internal world. This also has a fair degree of positive vibe about it. Orange, as I said, is all about courage and confidence and being able to withstand any form of crisis. And it comes as an internal driver. In the real world, you can also create that peace, harmony, connection, the relationships that are necessary in order for you to feel as though you have the world under control. You have the confidence and you have the relationships. You have the peace and harmony that's necessary for you to settle down. So all in all, attaching your strength to this additional energy that's available to you has some fairly positive, albeit a little bit confusing, outcomes. Let's have a look at what happens when we attach that energy, however, to the obstacle. And again, we do this by crossing over the drivers. Now here we have the cyan, that peace and quiet and harmony. Instead of being activated by your memories, how to do things, it's now activated by that feeling of emptiness, that flash of enlightenment. What this actually does is create for you a sense of entrapment. You're in a state of stalemate. You've had this flash of some sort of reality hit that has affected you deeply internally, but in the real world, nothing much is moving at the moment. There isn't any real guideline as to which direction to take. What do you do now? And the answer is you can't do anything. As well as that, you have the peak from the real world, that feeling of vulnerability, and I can't, linked to this potential optimism. Now, pink and yellow together also form a very pale version of orange. Orange is comfort, is confidence, it's courage. Here, there is the potential for that courage, even though the colours are split. You know from memory, you have a certain degree of optimism that exists. And in the real world, even though right now you could be feeling fairly diminished in terms of your energy supply, but also in terms of the amount of attention and affection and also assistance that you are receiving, nevertheless, you know that things will get better. And so this color reading is actually a fairly positive one, despite the fact that there is something that comes here that is really seems to be very, very unfair. Why me is what this is asking. Let's have a look at what the Oracle has to say on this topic. It gives you the Lovers. There are two paths ahead. Be true to yourself. The paths ahead are the ones that enable you to make choices, and these are all choices. What are you going to choose? You can't remain in a state of stalemate forever. Well, there's one thing for sure, and that is, even though we've had a rough number of months, February, March, and April, May doesn't really offer us all of the wonderful future that we might be hoping for. There's still going to be struggle. There's still going to be a need to reevaluate where we are going, what we are doing, what we want out of life. If your reading resonates with you, then certainly I urge you to make use of those missing colours, because they will make a difference to the way in which May 2026 works out for you. In the meantime, I wish you all the best for the month, and I'll see you again at the beginning of June. May the colours of your life bring you all the things that you need for your own happiness and higher good. Catch you next time. Bye.